You can survive the thing. That's not always the hard part. The hard part is what happens after. Walking back into your own kitchen and realizing some part of you never actually left the war. That's not a modern problem. That's Homer, 3,000 years ago, writing the most famous homecoming in literature as a man who can't stop treating his own house like enemy territory. Odysseus spends 10 years fighting at Troy, then 10 more years getting thrown across the sea by every god with a grudge. By the time he reaches Ithaca, he's buried his entire crew, lied his way out of monsters, and turned down actual immortality just to get back to a wife and a son who might not even recognize him anymore. And when he finally gets there, he doesn't walk through the front door. He puts on a disguise and cases his own house like it's a target. The man doesn't come home, he infiltrates it. Even Athena doesn't tell him to just go inside. She tells him to scout it out first. 10 years of survival instinct doesn't switch off just because the danger technically has. Homer never writes Odysseus has trust issues. He just hands him a disguise and lets the plot do the diagnosis. Every scene in that final act is a loyalty test. Which servants still respect the absent king? Which ones switch sides? Who mocks the beggar and who's kind to him? He's running intel on his own home the same way he'd scout an enemy camp. The epic doesn't tell you Odysseus is still at war. It shows you a man who's forgotten how to walk into a room without checking who's a threat first. Trauma psychologists have a name for this. It's called hypervigilance, a nervous system that stays braced for danger long after the danger's gone because it kept you alive once and never got the memo it can stand down. Odysseus isn't paranoid for no reason. He's running the exact operating system that survived 10 years of war and 10 years of monsters. That system doesn't recognize safe anymore. It only recognizes not dead yet. There's another wound underneath that one, moral injury. It's not the fear of getting hurt. It's the weight of what you did or watched happen to survive. Odysseus lost his entire crew on his watch, one bad call at a time. Coming home means he has to deal with that. The whole homecoming builds to a test, and it isn't a reunion, it's a contest. The object is to, 1, be able to string Odysseus's bow, which no one else can do, and then shoot an arrow through 12 axe heads. The beggar in the corner is the only one who can do it. That's the moment he stops hiding. Not because he finally feels safe, because he's confirmed the threat is real and now he knows exactly where it's standing. What follows isn't relief, it's a slaughter. Every suitor who disrespected his house dies in that hall, and Homer doesn't rush past it or soften it. He lingers on it. For Odysseus, this is the only language his nervous system has left to speak fluently. It's not a conversation, there's no explanation. It's just action, aimed at a threat he can finally see. Maybe you've done a smaller version of this. Maybe you didn't fight in a war, but you left a job that wore you down or a relationship that taught you to read a room before you trusted, and some part of you kept scanning long after you were safe. You check the lock twice. You brace before the phone rings. You keep receipts for conversations that already ended well. That's not you being difficult. That's the same system Odysseus is running, just scaled down to fit a normal life. It kept you alive once. Kept things normal. It just hasn't figured out the war's over. The Odyssey doesn't end with Odysseus healed. It ends with him armed in his own home, having just killed everyone who threatened it. Homer isn't selling you closure. He's showing you what it actually looks like to come back from something and still be at war with it. Years later, one locked door at a time.